is it?
The stuff that dreams are made of.
If the High Lords that invaded our world are to be considered villains, then there is one among them who is truly a supervillain. Originating from a cosm that resembles our Earth's early 20th century eras of the Roaring 20s, Dirty 30s, and Fighting 40s, this dark noir pulp reality is littered with hard-boiled corruption with danger around every corner. It is a bleak, seedy, and degenerated environment of lawlessness, controlled by mafioso cartels and government collusion. At the top of this illicit pyramid sits the greatest criminal mastermind ever known, the diabolical and nefarious Pharaoh Mobius. No other realm on core Earth represents a High Lord's power over reality more than in Mobius's carefully crafted pocket dimension known as the Nile Empire. The Cosm this dreadful and despicable ruler comes from is known as Terra by its inhabitants, but it is merely a shadow of the Nile Empire realm that the Pharaoh's madness has created on our planet. The Cosm itself has the same violent and hardened pulp atmosphere of noir fiction dominating the reality, but lacks the influence of ancient Egyptian culture so prominent within the Nile Empire realm. On Terra, the world is gritty and dark, where the Untouchables control society and rule the decrepit and decaying concrete jungles they control. The prevalence of early 20th century gang culture, surrounded by the impact of the Great Depression's rough and abrasive atmosphere, merges into the 40s environment of fascist empires and totalitarian dictatorships. The timeline of Terra resembles that of our universe only up until about the late 1800s. It is not until after the turn of the previous century that the two universes diverge drastically from one another. One of the most radically altering events to occur in the Terra Cosm was the introduction of superpowers and exotic scientific experimentation during Terra's version of the Roaring 20s. During the time that accelerated consumer demand caused rapid industrial and urban growth, heroes and villains emerged with powers and gadgets never before seen on their world. The Defenders became household names for their bravery and victories, while hoodlums became notorious for their aggression and cruelty. It was this alteration in events that infused the hope and ambition among the righteous of Terra to overcome the despair engulfing their planet. Turning to technology and enhanced abilities to solve their problems, the heroes of Terra started to fight back against the immoral and illegitimate factions controlling their world. It is during this time that the most fearsome and fiendish villain arose to challenge these would-be do-gooders, the vile and contemptible Dr. Mobius. A professor of mad science, this crazed technician epitomizes both the benefits and dangers of the Cosm's bastardized technological advancements known as weird science. The Doctor has several degrees from prestigious institutions that study this unnatural manipulation of physics and chemistry. The High Lord's knowledge and experiments has allowed him to construct impossible machines of destruction that confound and defy any opposition or reality he may face. The High Lord has conquered 9 realms prior to his accord with the Gauntman and shows no signs of stopping his quest to gain more power as he continues to make gains in the Possibility Wars. Since Terra's 1920s timeline diverged from ours, the Cosm never had 2 world wars in their history, only one Great War. It was after this global conflict that the environment began to alter into the chaotic and dismal conditions that exist there presently. The rise of powerful evildoers seeing control of assorted factions across the globe was a cascading domino effect where tyrants overturned governments and countries fell to the might of dictators and brutes. The circumstances of the Fighting 40s may not coincide with core Earth's conflict between the Axis and Allies, since those authorities were overthrown on Terra, but instead it has been a constant, unending series of hot and cold wars between villains vying for resources and territory ever since they began their rise to dominance. If the illegitimate usurpers are not fighting against protectors and defenders, then they are in contention with each other. The greatest and most respected of these authoritarian despots is the mischievous and loathsome Dr. Mobius. Not content to sit on someone else's throne, he has created his own on a secret island on the ocean where he declares himself supreme ruler of the world. The High Lord is so megalomaniacal that he sees himself so above the inferior territorial wars of the other crime lords that he allows them their petty squabbles as a means to find those worthy to become lieutenants in his supreme army. It is the very same reason that Mobius permits the constant interference of Terra's heroes. If there is no opposition to test his subjects, then they would be useless to him concerning his greater schemes. as long as his underlings do not interfere in Mobius's greater plans and submit to his authority, then he will appoint them as governors under his command, who get to run their personal domains as they see fit. Dr. Mobius's disinterest in Terra is not due to indifference, though, as he is content that he has absolute authority over the Cosm. He has more important matters to attend to, and for him, that is conquering other realities and expanding his empire to collect artifacts and relics for his ever-growing cache of otherworldly treasures. Although he may be the youngest of the High Lords, his methods of conquest are unquestionably effective, and his campaigns have been swift and fierce. Seeing himself as a resurrected immortal from his Earth's ancient Egyptian past, the Doctor appointed himself emperor over all he controls and crowned himself Pharaoh Mobius. This affiliation to his ancestral roots is his inspiration for his chosen location of invasion. When the storms erupted over the Nile River on core Earth, ancient Egypt suddenly began to emerge into the present, and the long-lost wonders of one of the first civilizations of our history reappeared as if constructed yesterday. As the past came to life, new architecture appeared, not from our world's design, but from the ancient world of Terra as well. When the High Lord brought his limestone bridges crashing into the Giza Plateau, it was not just the pulp noir designs of Terra that invaded the region, but also the Pharaoh's obsession for Egyptian mythology and culture. What is most undoubtedly the craftiest move by any of the other High Lords, Pharaoh Mobius did not come to core Earth's North African peninsula as an invader, but rather under the guise of a liberator. Many of Earth's inhabitants of the area welcomed the opportunity to restore the region to its former glory and beyond. Claiming the territories along the entire Nile Delta, including Lake Victoria, the war machine of Pharaoh Mobius spread west into parts of Libya and Sudan, and east into Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. Any opposition to his increasing conscription is met with an aggressive onslaught of devastating reality bombs that can transform an area outside the borders of a reality storm. As any and all attempts to resist the High Lord fail, Mobius tightens his grip over the region and declares victory over his 10th Empire on core Earth. Despite the Nile Empire's slightly lower axioms of societal dictatorships not advancing to a global community and an industrial advancement that has barely evolved the combustible engine, the Cosm's affinity for weird science more than makes up for the lack of technological progression. Along with the physics-breaking gizmos and gadgets, the Nile Empire has also invigorated the land with an infusion of magic that has revived mystical creatures and objects, as well as bestowing individuals with the ability to craft and cast spells. Alongside the moderate magical properties of the realm comes another advanced fundamental of the Nile Empire, the reality's affinity for spiritual awakening. The pantheon of deities as diverse and assorted as those in Isle, the Nile Empire has sprouted shrines and memorials dedicated to an assortment of divine beings from both core Earth's history as well as Terra's mythological past. Like the other gods and goddesses at this level of worship, they can gift their followers with powerful miracles and can materialize at will. As bleak and desolate as things look for any resistance to Mobius's authoritarian rule, both on Terra and within the Nile Empire, there are still those who are brave enough to oppose his might. Although the majority of villains from this reality have superpowers, there are those who use these abilities for good and justice and become heroes fighting against their High Lord and the other outlaws. If law and order are to be restored to the realm, it is these courageous individuals who are the protection against the assorted hooligans, dictators, and murderers dominating both worlds. In fact, the struggle against the lawlessness is so dire and dreary that the Nile Empire's world laws inspire individuals through the law of heroism to tap into their destiny and increase their options. These heroes are able to fight back against outstanding odds and stand up to the illegitimate organizations and corruption infesting their world through their commitment that gives them an advantage when in this realm. Almost as a consequence of these valiant champions challenging their nemesises, the law of action fuels this conflict and allows individuals to increase their possibilities when taking any action in the realm. This law is magnified by the fast-paced, cliff-hanging, dangerous, and thrilling momentum that never seems to take pause within the realm. While in the borders of the Nile Empire, it's always a race to the finish, just in time to start the next escalation or complication. In addition to the rapid action and heroic enthusiasm, the Nile Empire keeps these two requirements charged with the law of drama. In a chaotic and violent domain such as the Nile Empire, emotions run high and passions burn deep. Positive emotions such as love are much more cherished and valued here, as optimism and confidence can embolden the strong-willed. the more negative feelings of hate and anger can spawn grudges, rivalries, and devastating feuds of vengeance and pride that last for years. Life may be spontaneous and at risk in the Nile Empire, but death is never a certainty, as many who have been thought dead have somehow managed to escape the grave. Storm Knights from the Nile Empire have either been transformed into a superpowered hero or some version of a pulp noir-style champion who uses their new advantages to fight the High Lords. There are also those protectors from Terra who have come to free Earth from their world's maniacal overlord or find colleagues to help defeat him there. It is in the Nile Empire that you will discover the bewilderment of weird sciences and the exaggerated power of superhuman abilities. Play as a renowned superhero, choosing from a plethora of powers and abilities that defends the people from villains both petty and dangerous. Be a crazed scientist who builds weird constructs or strange machines that would be seen as science fiction on many worlds. Take the role of a hard-nosed detective seeking justice in a corrupt system, or an eagle-eyed reporter exposing conspirators. There are hotshots and noble guardians who can come from any job, career, or lifestyle from the early 20th century that can use a variety of means to impede the criminal prosperity rampant on both worlds. There are plenty of combinations of stereotypes to choose from or invent as you portray a resident of the serial entertainment tropes from the golden ages of radio, television, and film. Using your super abilities, magical sorcery, religious faith, or just plain no-nonsense attitude, you have decided to face the villainy of the insane and murderous Dr. Pharaoh Mobius and put a stop to his intricate plots and convoluted schemes.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.